We start in Chile, where security forces clashed with students and indigenous activists during a protest in front of the presidential palace in the capital. Police vehicles fired water cannons at protesters. Some were detained. They were calling for the resignation of Interior Minister Andrés Chadwick. This comes almost a week after the murder of Camilo Catrillanca at the hands of Chile's national police after they raided Mapuche lands. And the chief of the police in the Araucanía region, Luis Mayol, has resigned due to pressure following the murder of the Mapuche leader. Telesur's correspondent Paola Dragnich confirmed the news. Mayol has blamed the opposition for, quote, not supporting the change that we are accomplishing in the region. He says Catrillanca's case was a common criminal death. Now to Brazil, where on November 20th, people celebrate the Day of Black Consciousness to bring awareness of the black struggle in Latin America and raise awareness about their contribution. The day is observed throughout Brazil and particularly by social movements. The landless workers' movement is recognized in the country's struggle for land rights and sovereignty. The movement is also paying tribute to black artists, LGBTI activists, and elected officials involved in the struggle for equal rights. And more details are emerging about the team that will implement the agenda of Brazil's president-elect Jair Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro has already named his justice minister, Judge Sergio Moro, who led the case to imprison former president Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva. Moro now says he will appoint others who work with him on the car wash corruption investigation. Bolsonaro's new head of the police will be Mauricio Valeixo. He is currently the police chief in Curitiba and the one who carried out Lula's arrest.
I always said that I would be a fool if I didn't make use of the people who worked with me, especially in the Operation Car Wash investigation, because these people have already proven both their integrity and their efficiency.
Central Americans who are part of the migrant caravan continue heading towards Tijuana, Mexico, where they plan to ask for asylum at the U.S. border. Migrants gather at a city park in the town of Mexicali, and from there, the group plans to walk towards Tijuana, where members of the first caravans are camping out and waiting for their asylum requests. Meanwhile, new groups are continuing to assemble to embark on this long journey. They come from Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. And as more migrants arrive to Mexico, resources in various shelters are starting to run out, according to officials. They say that the great number of arrivals has taken a toll on the resources, and they estimate they can provide aid to migrants for just 10 more days. Nearly 3,000 migrants have arrived so far in Tijuana.
Right now, they have a illegal migration process to get into another country, which would take some time. But in the meantime, we are responsible for providing them with basic needs.
And U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kirstjen Nielsen has visited the border with Mexico and insisted that Trump's administration will not allow any migrant to cross the border illegally.
Let me first acknowledge what was referenced and what I'm standing in front of. This is a border wall with row upon row of concertina wire. Make no mistake, we are very serious. You will not get into our country illegally.
A federal judge has temporarily blocked Donald Trump's order to ban asylum seekers from crossing the Mexican border into the United States. The ruling could have an immediate impact on thousands of members of the caravan currently gathering in Mexico. It effectively opens the door for more people to request asylum in the U.S. The judge has said that the president, quote, may not rewrite immigration laws to impose a condition that Congress has expressly forbidden. And following the CIA's findings that pointed to Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman as being behind the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, U.S. President Donald Trump has defended his country's relationship with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Because it's America first for me. It's all about America first. We're not going to give up hundreds of billions of dollars in orders and let Russia, China, and everybody else have them. It's all about, for me, very simple. It's America first. Saudi Arabia, if we broke with them, I think your oil prices would go through the roof. I've kept them down. They've helped me keep them down. They didn't make a determination. And it's just like I said, I think it was maybe he did, maybe he didn't. They did not make that assessment. The CIA has looked at it. They've studied it a lot. They have nothing definitive. And the fact is, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. If you look at Iran, what they've done, they've been a bad actor. You look at what's happening in Syria with Assad, with hundreds of thousands of people killed. We are with Saudi Arabia. We're staying with Saudi Arabia. And by the way, just so everybody, I have no business whatsoever with Saudi Arabia. Couldn't care less.
And U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said that a strong response to the murder of Khashoggi could harm what he called the long and historic relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia.
So as the President said today, the United States will continue to have a relationship with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They're an important partner of ours. We will do that with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, its people. That is the commitment that the President made today. It's that straightforward. By the way, this is a long, historic commitment and one that is absolutely vital to America's national security.
We have more stories coming up, but you can follow us. We're on Twitter at Telesur English and my account at Carla G. Telesur. So give us a follow.
The ruling world order has always subjugated the masses. But who are the actors behind every move? What are their real interests? We analyze every move on Critical Move. Weekdays, only on Telesur.
We're back with news. British musician and founder of Pink Floyd, Roger Waters, is in Ecuador visiting indigenous people in the country's Amazon region. He went to support the communities affected by decades of oil pollution by Chevron Texaco. On Monday, the country's Civil Aviation Authority initially refused to grant permission for his plane to land in the Amazonian town of Lago Agrio. On his return to Quito, Telesur sat down for an exclusive interview with Roger Waters. He spoke about the impunity that large corporations enjoy while they destroy the environment.
The planet is dying. And I want it to still be there for my great-grandchildren, if possible, and even their children, great-grandchildren. Wouldn't it be nice if the human race learned to be progressive and learned to think about and imagine what the future might be, rather than just, boom, let's blow it all up. It's not about rock stars or musicians, it's about every human being understanding their responsibility to their fellow human beings and to the planet, or we're all dead very soon. That is the sad and sickening thing about the American empire, is that they've fucked up so many other places, and as did the British, I have to say, as do all colonial empires. They really screw things up. They don't help anybody to progress or go anywhere. They only hinder the potential the human race has to develop in a progressive way.
And you can watch the complete, exciting interview with Roger Waters on Telesur on Wednesday. So be sure to catch the times on the area where you are. Moving along, trade unions have taken to the streets of Lima, Peru to protest against the asylum request of former President Alan Garcia. Protesters marched towards the Uruguayan ambassador's home to demand that Garcia not be given asylum in that country. Over the weekend, Garcia requested it after the prosecutor's office announced he was being investigated for allegedly being involved in the Odebrecht scandal. In Colombia, the government has agreed to resume talks with student movements after 40 days of a general strike to demand an increase in the education budget. Our correspondent Paola Fernández has more.
Cordial saludo para usted y para todos los televidentes.
Talks have restarted between public education representatives and the Colombian government. But just as these talks have restarted, various student marches from all across the country are heading towards Bogotá, demanding to meet with President Iván Duque. Duque has so far avoided meeting students, sending various delegates to meet with them instead. The only answer students have received so far is that there are no funds to provide a higher budget for public education. Nonetheless, students demand guarantees to access quality education. Right now, the number of high school graduates far surpasses the number of available places in public universities. And beyond this, universities are falling apart due to their lack of budget. But it's not just university students who are raising their voices. Teachers and students from all levels of education are joining in the national strike, which has already passed 40 days. Transport unions also announced they will be joining student organizations and indigenous communities in the strike on November 28th. Unions and social organizations are set to hold one massive mobilization to condemn President Duque's policies.
A este llamado son también los trabajadores de la educación de los colegios públicos.
Paola Fernández from Bogotá. Also in Colombia, the 4th national meeting of displaced victims continues. They are urging Iván Duque's government to follow the peace agreements. The victims want to raise awareness on the effect of the conflict for the property of land and its restitution. Colombia's ombudsman estimates that over 1.7 million Colombians have been displaced during the armed conflict. Only in this year, 30,000 have been displaced. The second day of the first worldwide forum on critical thinking is taking place in Argentina. This comes a week ahead of the G20 summit. Latin American leaders will speak on fighting for equality, social justice, and democracy. This meeting will last for 4 days. And speaking at the event was the president of the Association of Grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo, Estela de Carlotto. She recalled the crimes committed by the military dictatorship in Argentina. During the forum, she explained the importance of the resistance.
If you didn't abide by the sinister project, you were an enemy. I think some military said he had intention of killing 3 million people. They couldn't do it because they found a lot of resistance. We suffered the loss of a daughter, a son, a husband, and a brother. We don't stay in our house, we go out.
And as leaders criticize the political situation in the region, Argentina's Senate has failed in its attempt to withdraw the parliamentary immunity to former President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. Pro-government political forces failed to promote a debate as the minimum of representatives needed was not reached. The lack of quorum proves for many how Fernández is the victim of a political persecution. The case revolves around accusations that her government had tried to cover up information on a bombing in a Jewish center in 1994. Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro recalled the bicentenary of the Declaration of the Republic and the struggle to gain freedom and independence, a battle that he says continues until this day.
Venezuela today is fighting a huge battle for our freedom. We are giving a tremendous fight for our right to exist. We are giving a tremendous battle against imperialism. The same of John Bautin's Erwin for our right to develop our own political, economical, social, cultural, republican model, for our right to be independent today in the 21st century.
A funeral has been held in Cuba for Venezuelan Ambassador Ali Rodriguez Araque. Diplomatic staff from the island and from the Venezuelan embassy have paid tribute to Rodriguez, also known as Comandante Fausto, for his fight as a guerrilla member against the neoliberal governments during the 60s. They highlighted Rodriguez's career working for Latin American integration.
He was an extraordinary son of Venezuela, a humble man who dedicated his life to fight for the best for the Venezuelan people. Ali, the fighter, Ali who was in front of the Socialist Venezuelan Party, who was in OPEC and who has also represented the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela here in Cuba.
We're taking one last short break, but stay with us. We'll be back after this video.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Guide your body. Tuesdays, only on Telesur.
We're back. Fighting between Saudi-led coalition forces and Houthi rebels in Yemen has escalated. Fighting is taking place around the port of Hodeidah, despite UN calls for a ceasefire. Spokesperson for the coalition said it has rejected the ceasefire and will continue carrying out military operations. The war between the US-backed coalition and the rebels has killed tens of thousands and pushed millions to starvation.
The coalition has now advanced the battle line to 4 kilometers from Hodeidah harbor and 3 kilometers from the center of Al-Hodeidah. The military operation is now going on, and its primary object is to destroy the Houthi supply routes in various regions. Only the tempo of the military advancement with the city of Al-Hodeidah may vary at different times.
Thousands have participated in a rally in Gaza to commemorate the anniversary number 14 of the death of the Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. He died on November 11, 2004 at a French hospital. His health had been deteriorating following an Israeli military siege of the presidential headquarters in Ramallah. He was elected president in 1996 and became the global face of the Palestinian struggle.
We have come today for the commemoration of Yasser Arafat, this leader whose name exceeds all words and geography. We have come to confirm the pledge and promise. We are the sons of this great leader. We came today to renew our loyalty for Palestine and to say that we are going to Arafat's path.
9 people have been killed in a Boko Haram attack in Nigeria. The armed group have murdered 9 farmers and kidnapped another 12 in a village in the north of Borno State. The attackers opened fire on workers as Boko Haram has intensified attacks on farmers in recent years, accusing them of giving information to the military. The director of the United Nations Environmental Program has resigned after criticism about his travel expenses. Let's find out more about this and other world stories.
The United Nations Environmental Chief Eric Solheim has resigned amid criticism over excessive traveling and internal rule-breaking. Solheim reportedly spent nearly $500,000 on air travel and hotels in less than 2 years. Countries like the Netherlands, Denmark and Sweden have publicly stated they were withholding millions of dollars of funding from the UN until the issues around Solheim were resolved. French nurses have taken to the streets of Paris to protest against healthcare reform imposed by the government of Emmanuel Macron. They say they feel being ignored and undervalued, especially in light of new reforms that plan to create 4,000 more healthcare assistant positions instead of giving more resources to nurses. This is the latest protest against President Macron's proposed reforms.
The population is aging. There are nurses here, and we need to recognize their capabilities. And we also need to know how to adapt in light of the situation. That isn't happening, and that's why we're not represented in the health plan that the government has presented. They've completely forgotten us.
At least 50 people have been killed and another 70 were injured in Afghanistan after a suicide bomber detonated his explosive in a large hall in the capital, Kabul, where hundreds of religious figures gathered to celebrate the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad. Officials fear the death toll will rise as many victims remain in critical condition. There has been no immediate claims of responsibility.
Also, a roundup of the world news. Now to Sweden. It has opened a disgusting food museum. But we warn you, if you're eating while watching this, listen at your own risk. This unique exhibit certainly shocks the senses. The museum lets people explore meals from around the world from another lens. The menu includes sheep's eye juice, fermented shark, Chinese bull penis, grasshoppers, stuffed guinea pigs, dry turtle soup, soybeans fermented with bacteria, and even mouse wine. A U.S. police officer attended an unusual call to rescue a baby bear who got trapped in a dumpster. Footage filmed by a police force in California shows the officer climbing on top of a dumpster to help the baby bear escape, while the mother bear watched on from the top of a nearby hill. The area was recently affected by wildfires that has threatened not only humans but animals as well. And with that, we come to the end of this news brief, but as you know, our website has all this information. We are at telesurenglish.net. You can also like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Thank you for watching Telesur, connecting the Global South. Until next time.